Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 363 for April 22nd, 2020. My name is Russell Frost, and I am your guide for this week's journey into modern mobility and sustainable energy. I need to start off the show with 2 plugs. And yeah, I'm doing that because I can. Not because anybody let me. I didn't ask permission. So forgive me, amazing panel that we have assembled this week. Well, I go into 2 personal plugs. Number 1, April 30th. Mark your calendars now. April 30th, our friend and friend of the show, Michael Mannering, is dropping his new solo record, Simple Moments. And I expect every one of you, all 5 of you, to go buy it.
All right.
It's not really a compelling commercial, is it?
I like this music, so I'll be picking it up.
There you go.
Pre-ordered
A
it.
lot of pressure.
It will be available everywhere, and you can go
Even
and
on
get
CD
that.
Baby.
It's CD. You can even buy it on fucking CD Baby if you like, or Bandcamp, or whatever. And speaking of music, some other good friends of mine just dropped a brand new record. A band called The Miss Allens. They are on Bandcamp, and that is The Miss Allens, A-L-A-N-S. Their new album, Voyeur, came out yesterday on Bandcamp, and I would encourage you to go because not only can you listen to it for free, it's also on Spotify. You can listen to it for free, but on Bandcamp, you can download the whole damn thing. You put in your own price. If you don't want to pay $10 for 16 great songs, then pay them $5. But this money goes directly to the artists, and that's a good thing, as we've talked about a lot on this show, supporting local art. And in Michael's case, great art, and maybe not local for everybody, but nonetheless, somebody who supported this show, and it'll be a great record. I'm looking forward to it. So we're starting off a show about mobility and energy with 2 musical plugs. Tony,
Something to listen to while you drive. There you go.
There. Musicandcars.com. There you go. Thank you, Patrick.
Yep.
People are driving.
Yeah.
Essential services are.
Yep.
I get in. Yeah, I get up in the morning. I get ready for work. I go out. I sit in my car for half an hour. I listen to the show, and then I get out, and then I come into my home office, and then I work for a while, and then I go sit in my car for 30 minutes. And see, I try to maintain some level of normalcy.
I hope you put your pants on when you went out to the car.
Or not. What's it matter?
Many things.
Didn't even think about that.
What are pants?
He's that guy who got that passive-aggressive note from the police department about, we know who you are, wear pants when you go to the bus.
Before we go further down this rat hole, let me introduce this amazing panel, and we'll get this show on the road. My wingman, our co-host, and the most exciting man in the Midwest, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey, everybody. I did have to drive into work yesterday, in fact. And so the funny thing is, so I have my Prius Prime, and I plug it in at home. I plug it in at work. I filled the tank Black Friday after Thanksgiving last year. And I had about 3/4 of a tank. And my plan throughout March and April was to not plug in at home and burn the gas on the way to work, charge at work because it's free, and then I would be able to just chew up that gas because I didn't want the gas sitting, for a long time. So yesterday I had to drive into work, and I don't know if you can make this out.
It says 0.
Yeah, it says 0 because I was stopped. Thank you.
Move back.
Yeah, I know, but then I get a glare.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh,
wait.
it's
I see a 167.
It's blurring with your blurred background. There you go.
Oh,
yeah, there we go.
So I drove 16.7 miles to work, and I was averaging 73.1 miles per gallon, and that's when I realized this is going to take a while. It's kind of hard to burn through gas intentionally when your car is averaging 70 plus miles per gallon.
How long should gas in the tank last? That's a good question for everybody who has a gas car sitting at home right now.
Well,
Right,
it's
so-
good,
It's good for well over a year. Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked a friend of mine who
pressurized?
is, so a friend of mine is a semi-professional race car driver. I turned to him for obscure crap like that. And he said, when did you buy it? And so I told him, I said, well, it was after Thanksgiving. He said, okay, so it's probably winter gas. He's like, you're good for 2+ years.
Yeah.
And then he said summer gas that doesn't have the winter additive, he wouldn't stretch it more than a year and a half.
The fact that there is literally an expiration date on gas is, mind blown.
Yeah. Well, and there is something to the hydrocarbons breakdown. I actually used to know a lot more about how the whole process was, but in the same way that like a soft drink goes flat over time, the gasoline will like literally just lose
It's not like
its...
Scotch; it doesn't get better each year.
Alcohol always got better with age.
Alcohol gets better with age, and gasoline won't hurt you if you drink it. By the way, the additives
Okay,
and the
do not
cleaners.
listen to Tony.
Do not
No.
listen to Tony Schaefer
No,
anymore.
I'm actually dead serious about this. I
No,
literally am dead serious. The additives and the crap they put in the gasoline can hurt you, but pure straight 100% gasoline actually will not hurt you. It's inert as it goes through the human body.
Did you stop?
There you go.
Just stop.
Something you know.
It's gonna be a big banner.
Someone's going to drink it and then.
Dude,
sue
it's not like
People,
I'm pitching
in this case,
hydro.
I do recommend Bud or what is that, Schlitz malt liquor or whatever that is.
That's probably
over drinking. Over drinking the gasoline.
It's not like I'm promoting hydrochlorozine or something.
Chloroquine.
Okay.
Moving on. Moving on.
Anyway, whatever. Buy local, support, buy gift cards. Make sure your local business is staying.
And don't drink gasoline. Do not drink gasoline.
But if it comes to it, it won't kill you.
Stop.
That's all I'm
No.
saying.
We'll put a big banner on his.
Tony is not a
I'm going to
scientist.
mute your mic now, Tony.
Moving on.
Next up, our technical expert. He is the owner and founder of Boulder Hybrids, coincidentally located in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Gusick.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be back. And yes, I am at work because we are an essential service fixing people's cars to get to their healthcare careers or what have you.
Thank you so much. And up next, our friend in Canada, where I understand it was a beautiful, sunny and warm day. Bunnies were out hopping around and everyone was playing wearing minimal clothing. Mr. Mark Coughlin.
What part of Canada was that? That must be Vancouver, because it certainly wasn't that here in southern Ontario. But it's coming, apparently. We got a couple more days and we'll be into the double digits Celsius, which will be a high point for us. So we're looking forward to Friday and Saturday here. Welcome, everyone. We got a ton of news to talk with today.
Mark says with no sarcasm intended.
None at all.
Whatsoever. Well, speaking of weather in Canada, next up is the man we call the president of Canada, and he has a slight connection to the weather there. Let's talk about him in Vancouver. I like to think of him as John B.
Hey, everyone. And it's actually raining. Much needed rain. Had a dry as April, third dry as April, I guess we're leading into on the record. So not good for the forest fire. Good for the snow melt, sort of. We have a lot of snow though, to melt through. Not in Vancouver, but in the province in general. But yeah. Anyway, glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. And our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region, did he say it snowed? I don't remember. Someone said it snowed.
We just had a freeze warning.
Find him on his YouTube channel, Mr. Casey Green.
Thank you. Yeah, so much for those May flowers with all these lack of April showers.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Casey.
Yeah. Well, no, we've been all right. It's a little bit of rain here and there, a little cool temperatures, a little high temperatures. It's keep you on your toes. Look at it nicely from the window.
And next up, number 7 out of 8, and that's not a ranking. That's just my introduction rate, which is probably not good. But our friend in Northern California, she is a writer, a director, a photographer, a videographer. She does it all. Georgia McKenzie.
It sounded really accomplished. I like that. I need you as a hype man. Welcome.
Not all I'm good at. Well, thank you for being here, Georgia. And last and not least, our friend in the Pacific Northwest. I have no idea. Is that a Greta Thunberg shirt?
Yes.
Wearing the Greta Thunberg shirt, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Yeah, wearing it for Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, everybody. And
Oh yeah.
school striking. Everyone's been striking
Forgot.
for yeah. There you go. Tony's recycling. He's got his green on. Yeah. So hello, and happy to be here. Let's talk about the future of transportation.
Let's. Yeah. It's funny how the virus has completely eclipsed Earth Day.
Well, yeah, I was
Yes.
saying that everyone is staying home and not driving in celebration of Earth Day 50. As this is all just for Earth Day. And look at, we've never had cleaner air. It's all for Earth Day.
Earth Day 2020. Nature fights back.
When you think about it, that's the celebration we should have been having every April 22nd, is not driving and breathing a little better. That's
Yeah.
I know that sounds so mundane though. Well, our first story this week goes to our friend in the Waterloo-Kitchener region. He's going to be broadcasting directly from the Chesterfield of Teppermans. And there's no more buzzwords I can put into that story intro. Mr. Coughlin, take it away, sir.
Yes, indeed. A little bit of an update from Lordstown Motors in Ohio. For those of you that are keeping track of this, Lordstown was a GM plant that's been repurposed to build electric pickup trucks. And it's actually the home of the Endurance pickup truck, which will be made here, which previously to that used to be called the Workhorse pickup truck. So it's a bit of a moving target here as to names and companies. But this particular factory has been commandeered, and they are going to be pushing out all electric pickup trucks. And with, of course, the health problem that we've all been experiencing here worldwide, they recently have indicated that their plans for the unveiling of the truck in December of 2020 is going to be pushed back just a bit. But the silver lining is it's not far at all. It's really only 1 month. They're pushing it into January of 2021. So really, the truck seems to be well into moving forward. Just a little bit of a refresher on the truck. It certainly has changed its appearance a little bit since. It's so wonderful that the image is turned into a blob.
That's
But,
a very nicely blurred out bit.
That particular truck is, we'll see if we can refresh the page here. The truck is going to have 4 motors at each wheel, which of course is a little different than most. But the particular truck here, it's working just well for the pictures.
They don't want you to screen share.
No, apparently not.
Right.
Apparently they have no intention of letting me show the vehicle.
What am I sharing?
But it's certainly, we'll see
I
if
got
it
it, Mark.
comes in over time. I'm not
But-
sure.
It appears the whole town of Lordstown is on lockdown because there's not one car on that big street in front of the
Yeah.
plant.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice looking truck.
So are these hub motors, do you know, or is
They
it
are
Ford?
hub motors.
They're
Yes.
hub motors.
Okay.
Interesting.
So that's what's going on in the wheel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you zoom in a little
Exactly.
closer, you can see.
It looks
Yeah,
way better than the
so-
prototype.
That,
Which
has
makes
been tried a
doing
few times.
suspension a lot easier.
But then it's unsprung weight, and that can be a problem.
Explain,
see.
Patrick.
So if it's the motors are in the wheels, they're going to be taking every time you hit a pothole. That's taking some hit onto the motor directly. It doesn't have the suspension to dampen that for it. So you could end up. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they've found a way to make them tough. I mean, this is a truck. Hopefully, you wouldn't want to hit a pothole and just be like, "Oh, I lost one of my motors." So
I got
Yeah,
3
I'm-
left.
yeah, well, that's just to drive it in to get it fixed.
Can
That
you go
is
back a
not
screen?
redundancy.
Other TVs that have tried this in the past have ended up re-engineering it to not do that. For
So
very
this
That
must
is-
be a.
Sorry,
Sorry, I was just going to say this picture here must be a very early prototype because a real manufacturer would not use zip ties to
No.
tie. Um,
But this is why Rivian, they have 4 motors as well, but theirs are inboard. They have half shafts going out to all the wheels.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they just They haven't gone to production yet, so changes could happen, and maybe they figured out a way to make it work that no one else has before, or maybe they'll change the design.
Well, and this certainly isn't the first truck. There's been a few others that never came to fruition that of electric trucks that were proposed to have hub motors. I don't remember the names, forgive me, but I know I saw one in 2011 in Raleigh, and there was at least one other one. So maybe there's a reason. Maybe they've got the secret sauce to make it work. That's a really good point, though, Patrick.
I think the only ones we've seen are construction equipment, like, big and yellow.
Slow moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly Lordstown is depending on this because, of course, with that GM plant closure, putting out so many people out of work, this is a real save for them if this truck can be successful. So we watch with anticipation as the end of the year, the beginning of the year happens, and we'll be watching to see what gets unveiled and released in Ohio.
Yeah.
Thank you for that story, Mark. Well, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we certainly wish them the best. We've always said, we don't want anyone to fail. And if they can bring a truck to market, how many times have we collectively or individually heard people say, well, this is great, but when are they going to bring a truck?
Yep.
Okay, bring it.
And all of a sudden, in the next year or two, we might see several trucks, which would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Trucks are some of the biggest sellers in the U.S., and so we need some EVs in that market space. That'd be awesome.
There you go. Well, our next story might arguably be the first or second biggest bit of news this week. And for that, we're going to go for I cannot wait for the clarity that Casey Green is going to bring to this otherwise bizarre and confusing story. Mr. Green, take it away.
So, in honor of Elon Day or Earth Day,
what the
cut his
fuck
mic.
was
Cut his
that?
mic.
it was a joke that was trending on Twitter yesterday because it was 420, and Elon and 420 are just always in the news. So the oil future markets, they got negative. Well, first they got really low, and then they went negative to the point where anyone who's holding the note for the oil futures, they must accept delivery. So it's now a game of hot potato. And so all of yesterday was at almost negative $40. People who didn't want the hot potato because there is not enough demand for oil right now. And yes, exactly.
And it is kind of hilarious, actually.
Yes.
So but I have to admit, I don't understand this. Okay, I'm not a commodities trader. I don't nobody's paying me to buy a barrel of oil. That's not what this is. That just means that nobody wants oil right now.
Nobody wants the oil.
Yeah.
So
They
whoever
can't
holds the
store
note
it.
must.
I'm looking at
Yeah.
Patrick on my screen, hoping Patrick understands something about commodities futures.
A little bit. So a lot of the people who are trading this are buying these contracts in hopes to resell them, not because they actually want to take oil. So there's a date certain that so these are that price that we just saw is for next month's oil, and those contracts were going to be fixed on I think it was the 21st.
Yesterday,
And-
yeah.
Yeah,
21st.
exactly.
Sorry, 21st, yeah.
And so if you have that contract on that date, that means you will be taking delivery of 1,000 barrels of oil per contract. And so the people that were trading them, hoping to make money and never had any intention of taking delivery, wanted to get rid of them. Because right now, people are not using a lot of oil. There's a lot of glut on the market. A lot of the reserves are completely full. Tankers off the coasts are full. And so there's really nowhere for it to go. That's why. So this is we saw the same in reverse, where it was commodity traders jacking up the price because they were all trying to get these contracts. And it's really sort of annoying that they can even play these games. If you really wanted oil and you bought a contract, you're going to take delivery of it, and you wouldn't have these people that are just in the middle trying to make money on the trades. And they cause these distortions in both directions, and I don't know, they're just not great human beings in my opinion.
People stock it up on sanitizer and toilet paper while all of us needed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah.
So I think
it comes down to supply and demand. If there's, people thought there would be a demand for oil and there isn't, and all the storage facilities are full, so like Patrick said, you got a hot potato, and you're going to pay people to take that problem off your hands because
Exactly.
you
Because
can't
physically
take delivery of the oil. Where are you going to do? Put it in your backyard?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, and
So-
you can't even do that because it's toxic. You have to. It has to be stored in certain ways. You can't just.
Yeah. And it's not like gasoline that you can put in your SUV. It's crude oil. So the only market for it is refineries, and they don't need any more because no one's
Nope,
buying
they're
their
good.
finished product. Yeah. So
Right.
Keep it
Which
in the ground.
basically points out the disconnect between markets and real life.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here? And it's one of those, when we go back to normal, should we have commodities markets where if you have no actual physical ability to take these commodities, should you be allowed to buy a
shouldn't
lot
play,
of them?
Interesting question.
It's why it's the biggest casino where you don't get to have a drink and maybe a buffet in Las Vegas. I mean, this is kind of crazy that we're doing this.
Right.
And it just makes me laugh.
Yeah, if it was really just supply and demand, then there would be people who have demand who were placing the orders. You wouldn't have this problem.
Nope,
But like an
and I bet
airline
you
who had a
would be
big storage
paying.
facility could
Yeah.
could
This
buy a
reminds me
contract.
of Trading Places, the movie.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
it
was
does
thinking
make
of that
me
in the
think
back of
about
my head.
Trading
Pork
Places
bellies and
because
orange juice.
that
Right,
really
and-
was about the commodities market. And it's always funny that there's these little lessons in our pop culture that if we pay attention, we actually find out how completely screwed most of modern society is when it comes to financial products.
And that's when Russell said, can someone explain to me the commodity trading thing? And I started looking for a picture of the oil holders. Womp womp. And I was going to say, it's exactly like Trading Places, where, they
Substitutes on Wall
wanted
Street.
to buy, all of this orange futures, the futures on oranges, because they just wanted to buy the futures on the oranges so that they could sell them later. But what happened was last month and 2 months ago, you had people buying oil futures with the intent of reselling them because, as we know, summer's coming up, and what happens to the price of oil and gasoline in the summer? It always goes up.
Always
So
goes
hey,
up,
that's
always.
that's a winning bet right there. You buy in January and February and early March, and you can sell it throughout May and June and July. Except this happened. So now those people were sitting there holding all of this oil, and no one's buying it, and they've got to take delivery of it. And they're buying it in, according to the article, they buy it in contracts of 10,000 barrels a pop. And, so some of these places that weren't as heavily affected have these huge tankers that they can fill up and they can just park them out in the ocean. But you've got these other places that are landlocked and they have a very finite amount of space to store this oil. And like Patrick said, it has to be moved in a certain way and it has to be stored in a certain way. And it's all very expensive and they must take delivery of it. And they want anyone. They're willing to lose $40 a barrel to just have someone take it away because they literally have nowhere to put it.
And I'm just going to interject one little thing on this market story. It does make me curious because I know this has already disappeared down the memory hole. Where we had a number of senators who got the reports going back, I believe, in February and, shed a few stocks that were troublesome. I'm sure they had nothing to do. And in some cases, bought a few stocks of very uninteresting telecommunications firms, including, virtual meeting technology. It would be interesting to find out if anybody was doing anything like that with these futures, but I'm sure it was nothing.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I'm sure there's nothing there.
No one would do that. Come on.
I'd never.
The next batch of futures for oil, they are already under $20 a share as well. And then online there's the chant of leave it in the ground, which makes perfect sense. So how many of these facilities, other than obviously the tar sands in Canada, are not under extreme pressure where they can cap them off until they need it? I imagine some of it is, we call it oil pumping for a reason, right? So some of them you have to pull out of the ground, and obviously the rest that are under extreme pressure, you might not be able to turn them off. Is this just because Russia and Saudis and the other OPECs are fighting right now, or?
Oh, well, yeah, that didn't help.
No,
That
it
was
didn't
That
help.
definitely
certainly
part of
didn't
it,
help.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure
Yeah.
some of the land-based pumps and fields, they'll definitely have an easier time to
I think
To
close the
stop.
valve.
to stop or reduce or slow down than say like an offshore oil rig, which I presume is very difficult and very expensive to turn off and then turn on again. So I presume they just run at some constant lower output level and then just let the land-based ones kind of pump more
Be
or less depending on demand. Yeah, so
Yeah.
presumably it'll be those places where that are land-based, unless like Casey said, it's under extreme pressure, or they're place. I don't know, maybe something like the tar sands are more expensive to extract, and it's just like once they turn off, they're like, nah, we're not going to turn on again. It just costs too much, right? Because it's expensive to extract in the first place, and then you have to spend this capital to turn everything back on again, and there's no guarantee that's going to go back up to whatever $100 a barrel, whatever their threshold is, right? So
Yeah. And I understand that some of the places, once you turn them off, you can't turn them back on again because you're effectively shutting them down. But like the tar sands, like you said, like it's under gravity, and if it's below their profit margin, they've turned them off plenty of times because we keep messing with you guys.
Yeah, I'm just worried that we know that the oil companies have a lot of influence, lobbying, and influence there in Washington. So how much of a bailout are we going to see for oil?
None.
Already being discussed.
Well, yeah.
It's
so
already, it's already
There's
a
in the
dime.
discussion.
Not one drop.
I know.
You know what? I think
I know that's
Tony's
what you want,
idea
but I
for
don't
an
think that's what's gonna
alcohol
happen.
that's drinkable from gas is probably the next step.
What I'm interested about this particular story is that not only the futures have dropped off, but it turns out that here in Ontario we had quite a price drop in gasoline at the pump when the Saudis and the Russians were fighting and pumping to their heart's content. But now that there's the oil has completely dropped off the map, the price starts to creep up. So it's amazing that people are spending money to get off their hands, but yet once it gets through the refining process, we're all starting to pay upwards of $1 a liter here in southern Ontario, where really if you were to look at the price of oil, it should be a lot lower than that. And that's one of the reasons, I guess it's been 6 years ago that I bought a Volt and said, that's it, I'm out. I'm done paying these higher prices and them telling me to jump however high. That was my turning point, and that's what got me out of the market completely. And now I'm completely out for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so $4 a gallon. You said $1 a liter.
Yep.
It's about $4 a gallon. So I want to show you by comparison. Russell is familiar with southern Wisconsin. Right now, we're looking at 96 cents a gallon.
Jesus.
Kenosha, Wisconsin,
Even I know that's
97.
cheap.
Pleasant Prairie, 99 at Costco. Yeah.
There's a video I made where I'm
it's
looking at the
it's still
gas sign. I'm like,
expensive.
I don't know if that's cheap or not. And somebody's like, yes, that's cheap. Even I know that's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
97.
Under $1.
Well, yeah. So for the essential workers who have to drive right now, that's great. I'm glad they are able to get fuel at a low price. And for everybody else, stay home if you can. And
I was thinking of topping off my tank, and I'm like, no, idiot, don't.
You were just talking about trying to burn it.
I know, right?
Well, the
Or drink
switchover should be soon, right? Like, was it May? It's May, I think. Was it? Or did he switch over or April?
Yep. Me. Yep.
Yeah.
May.
Yeah.
Okay. Or
like I said, that one's down under 20 already, so we might see a repeat of whatever happens to this one.
I guess we won't know until the deadline
I
approaches.
mean, the sad thing is when people start buying cars again, which maybe in a couple months, they're going to go, oh, I'm going to buy the big ass Suburban because gas is $1 a gallon, Yeah.
Or
And
even
because
if
there's gonna be
it goes
incentives.
up to $1.50, you're like,
Yeah. Like, who cares?
Right.
I'll just buy the biggest, stupidest SUV I can buy.
And like we said last week, there's going to be a glut of these cars on dealership lots. They're going to be looking to get rid of them. So they're going to be expensive cars marked way down, burning cheap gas.
With 84
Happy
month
Earth
olds.
Day.
Oh no!
And since we buy everything by the pound here, I mean, why not get the clearance sale SUV to burn this cheap gas that's going to last forever?
Right.
But it never does.
Well,
or the it's cheap to buy, so even if I get rid of it in 2 years when gas goes up.
Yeah, except that then
Right.
they're getting rid of a car that nobody wants. They never see this. It's just
Yeah,
a vicious
they
cycle.
never look at it that way.
I agree that some people will certainly do that, but I think right now with everybody, so many people having time at home, they're thinking about, look at how clear this air is, and this is what it could be like if we weren't polluting so much. Maybe I should buy an EV, and now they've got time to do that research. And I hope this means that as we come out of this, that the percentage of EV sales is doubled. It would be nice.
Yeah, more EVs and more work from home.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Oh yeah, I was going to say I would hope that the other countries, where the pollution difference is much greater, right? That will give them some hope. And I realize everything costs money, and maybe the country doesn't have the money to invest, but at least there'll be a push, right, from the population saying, "Hey, we kind of like that.
Right.
Let's
I
start."
was reading a blurb today where they're like, "Hey, we can see the Himalayas from this place that they've never seen
100
them
miles
before."
away, yeah.
Yeah.
They've never seen it in 30 years. It's been 30 years. Someone born in the
Yeah.
80s would have never seen it in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with
Yeah.
Washington and LA, and it's all over the world. I mean, we've seen the maps where there's they're measuring CO2, they're measuring NOx,
And
like
NOx.
gone. Yeah.
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 And if you like $1 a gallon for gas, that's what electric vehicles are all the time, not just during
Right.
something.
Well, and see, and that's the thing. Some people will hopefully get off of gas and go electric because it's the right thing to do, and they've seen what a blue sky looks like. But then other people, maybe right now, people who are furloughed and whatever are still making those car payments on those big ass SUVs. And I'm always going to have a job, and I'm always going to be able to make this payment. And look, money's coming in, and and hopefully. And I'm not saying people are going to turn into preppers, but hopefully people will turn into more responsible consumers and actually make better financial decisions. I realize I'm sounding like Susie Orman here, and like I'm on a soapbox or something, but I'm not trying to be. I'm just saying, hopefully people aren't going to run out and buy those big ass SUVs because they're going to stop and they're going to say, wait a minute, we didn't see this coming at the beginning of the year. Maybe we shouldn't take on an 84-month car financing because we don't know what's coming in the next, what is that, 7 years?
7 years.
Yeah. It would not be shocking to see a second wave of this incident or some other one 3 or 4 or 5 years from now. So yeah, people should be thinking ahead a little bit, I hope.
Yeah.
You guys are so optimistic. It's
It's the only
cute.
thing. It's the only thing that helps us sleep at night, to be honest.
I understand, and I think it's nice. Well, we'll see. I'm worried about the impact on alt car sales, on EV sales specifically. I'm worried about the idea that people are going to run out and buy the biggest thing because I've never filled my F-150 tank for $25 ever, and now I can do it. And you just got to know that there is a percentage of the population that's celebrating that right now. GM's right now in Detroit, in some building in GM, someone is having a conversation. Why do we make the new Hummer electric again?
Yeah.
I
hope
promise
not.
you.
No, they're having a
I
conversation. Let's make a
promise
gas version as well.
Exactly. I promise you that conversation is taking place right now.
Yeah.
If we reduce it to 8 miles with a range extender, do we still get green credits?
What they'll do is they'll bring back the Hummer Classic to go stand next to the original.
Oh my God, the Hummer
Classic.
Classic.
There's no such thing as a classic Hummer.
The Hummer EV, and then the old one that they just resurrected with new crash bumpers.
It's not.
You know what? And forgive me. I had to be the pessimist after that optimistic ending. Otherwise, I could
Yeah.
have just gone to the next story. I'm sorry, everyone.
Ruined it.
Call
People
me
wonder
Mr.
why the legacy automakers don't get a lot of credit for their electric vehicle projects, and that's why, because they have other motives as well.
Well,
I mean,
they're
they're still
trying to make
business, right?
money.
Yeah. So it's easier to sell a gas car at a discount and lots of it, right, to get their profits back up or to make up for lost sales
Yeah,
than it is to build EV because they can't build it fast enough, even if they were to like discount it.
right. Their motives are obvious and just not something is morally aligned with.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to a happy story. Tony, give us some good news.
Well, I got a couple of things. And before I get into the good news, I want to remind everyone that if you want to read the news that we're reading on a weekly basis, make sure and check us out online. Make sure and find us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/whatdrivesus. Our very own Patrick Connor populates our page with interesting news on a regular basis. It does an excellent job. If you use Flipboard as a news aggregator, be sure to subscribe to the What Drives Us magazine. You know, it's been a while since I've been out there. So, you know what? Let me come out here to the Flipboard What Drives Us, because I just want to let you know, if you are not subscribed to What Drives Us magazine, you are not one of the 20,606 viewers of our magazine. All right? So go out and find it. It's populated by Philip Barclay and myself. Everything EV, alt fuel, everything advanced tech, automotive, and all the articles that we read. So those are your two sources to keep up with us online. So Subaru is planning to bring a battery electric crossover utility vehicle. They're partnering with Toyota, and the name they've decided to go with, how do you, Evoltis? EVOLTIS, Evoltis.
Sounds like it to me.
That should be a heartburn drug or something.
I was thinking it sounds like an ED drug.
An EV drug. There it is. Yeah. Are you addicted to gasoline? Evoltis may be for you.
See doctor for instance involving more than 4 hours.
So anyway, they've so we all know that Subaru and Toyota work together on platforms and things. So they're partnering and they're bringing this new Evoltis battery electric vehicle. They only have a concept right now, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and show you what this looks like. And maybe if someone wants to translate this, did I get the screen? Yes. So that's the Evolta. It even said in the article, if not for the badge in the front, that really does look, it's very strong Toyota design influence.
It looks like a RAV. I'm looking at the back seat, the C-pillar right there.
Yeah. But here's the crazy part. Subaru has promised that the production vehicle will be much flashier than the concept, which, in my opinion, good, because this just looks like a box.
I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by it. Again, I watched a lot of sci-fi as a young child, so something that looks like that, it's shaped like a robot head. I can drive it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the hard lines. They
It's
probably
like
won't make it to
the
production.
Japanese interpretation of a Cybertruck.
Right.
It looks
And I bet you
very
it
much.
transforms.
Yeah.
It looks very much to me like what people in 1960 thought cars in 1990 would look like.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Year 2000 car.
It has that real UFO feel, that kind of Jerry Anderson thing. But it's cool.
I'm wondering if this person took this picture so they would have a picture of the concept vehicle, or the picture of somebody's grandfather taking a picture with his iPad.
Both.
It could have been
Look,
both. That's right. That's
when
right.
you can get into that car and fight kaiju that come up out of the ground,
Ooh.
you're going to be so grateful.
I mean,
Oh
I
my
wonder
gosh,
if Toyota has some crazy ass skunkworks project going to build some badass EV technology, because up until now they've delivered nothing really.
They've hinted. They've literally hinted.
And I know they sell a lot of their electronic stuff to Subaru from their Denso subsidiary. So this could be cool. I mean, this could be showing us that Toyota's got a whole bunch of stuff up their sleeve as well.
So far, Toyota has only put their electric stuff to compliance in China in order to be able to sell into China. They haven't brought anything, as we know, because we would have talked about it. They haven't brought anything to Europe or North America.
I hear a lot of heavy sighs coming from Vancouver.
Yeah. Well, see, a couple things. Akio Toyoda is not a big EV fan, right? I mean, he has a racing car background. He's not really like. Remember when there was an article that came out several years ago that a couple of his engineers, when they were, developing the FRS/86/BRZ, they came out with an EV version of it, and they were really excited to show the boss. The boss drove it, and he goes, it's an electric car. Now, maybe his feelings and attitude has changed. A little hard, given you're the big boss, but that was the sentiment, right? So I feel like right now, I mean, I'm happy that he's making cars that are really nice. They're much nicer to drive. Like any of the current generation vehicles on the TNGA platform are much better to drive than previous ones. But a lot of the collaboration that I'm seeing, I'm thinking it's for China and Europe, because those two are the only two places that have strong emission emission targets, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. I think, what was China's one? I can't remember now. I can't remember if it was emission reductions or like an EV sales percentage, kind of like what California tried to push, a decade or two ago. Europe, for sure, I know it's an emission thing, so something like 42 grams per kilometer or something. It's really, really low, right? It's low. It's much lower than what a Prius can, like a regular Prius can achieve, right? So that's their target. I mean, that's the reason why suddenly all these European manufacturers are jumping on plugins, even though hybrids are, cheaper to make, easier to price them on par with gasoline vehicles. They can't do that because they need to meet those CO2 targets. And the only way to do that without having to go full EV is to go plug-in hybrid. So that's why, you're seeing, Volkswagen, the Volkswagen group in general, Mercedes, Audi, Audi is part of Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW, are pushing for plugins. And then for China, there's a reason why they released those three: the Lexus UX 300E, was it, or two? UX 300E, the CHR EV, and the Chinese brand Izod EV, which is basically the rebadged CHR. So that's the reason why I'm signing a lot, because it's kind of nice, but are we going to see it here in North America? It might be a while.
Well, this
especially
particular
with $1 a gallon gas.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, this particular concept, they're not projecting Subaru to bring out until 2025. So, stick around for episode 585, and we'll see.
So you said that they would make it more exciting. So why do all these traditional automakers seem to think that the electric cars need to be the weird mobiles?
Well, no, it was actually based on the fact that in this article from Autoblog.com, they said Subaru is actually notorious for bringing out these crazy, exciting concepts, and then the production vehicle is like blah, is like a Subaru. And so that's why I said it was in the article.
They're not going to dumb it down.
In particular,
Like
the concept
Subaru.
is entry level, but Subaru has promised that this vehicle is going to be much more exciting than the concept. They're flipping the playbook.
Yeah, because this looks pretty mundane for a concept car. It looks pretty boring.
Like we all thought it was a Toyota for a minute.
Yeah, it looks like it could have just rolled off a Toyota lot.
Yeah.
Probably did.
Yeah.
They just pried the badge off in the front.
So they just said, just throw a Toyota shell over it.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Nobody's
Tito
gonna,
said no more
nobody's gonna
electrics.
notice.
We'll take it.
As much as we've complained on the show about concept cars, I'm going to give Toyota Subaru the credit of presenting us with a concept car that might actually make it to market somewhat similar to what they're representing now. You know what I mean? Like, there's no obvious suicide doors and silly steering wheels and
That's true.
chairs that turn around and all of that. It looks like a car that might actually
Go somewhere.
pass a crash test.
Yeah.
Not until 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember that article from, I think it was beginning of last year, or maybe it was almost a year ago, April, right? 2019, when Toyota and Subaru announced that collaboration with a whole bunch of articles that came out, a whole bunch of press releases, right? They're going to have this line of vehicles, from small car to large SUVs. And I think about 2025 to 2030 was their target range. So, I mean, this falls in line with their timeline.
Yeah, they've also been saying they want to wait for solid-state batteries, and they think that'll be 2025 to 2030. So that this concept might be waiting before it goes to production for some solid-state battery breakthrough that may or may not arrive.
Right.
That's kind of infuriating. I mean, I hate to be impatient, and it feels weird to say impatient, but my dudes, we have been trying to be more sustainable since I was a child. What in the ever-loving hell is the holdup?
The lack of the lack of kick in the butt is the holdup.
Maybe this is a global kick in the butt.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe Mother Nature just put on a chancla and just like is just giving us a great big old butt whopping, because really, speed it up. This is kind of ridiculous that, hey, we can announce the concept car and you don't get to expect it until nearly 2025. And based on experience, as a person of experience, I think we're talking 2026.
Mm-hmm. As a 2025 model year, that October.
Yeah, and then you got the battery in 2030. It's like, hey, we kind of needed that 10 years ago. Yeah. But I digress.
And if we're focusing,
I also expect the wheels to be smaller.
Yeah. Well, if we're focusing exclusively on Toyota, Toyota has historically been overly conservative. I mean, how many years were lithium-ion batteries in the market before they actually switched from nickel metal hydride in the Prius to offering lithium-ion in the plug-in Prius, and only the plug-in Prius
hybrids still have nickel metal hydride.
Yeah. And so even if they develop these solid-state batteries, the history shows they're not going to trust them or implement them for many years even after that.
They won't be the first, right? Because they want to make sure it's going to last whatever the target is, 15 years. 30 years.
Unless they're a quarter of the price. So if they're a quarter of the price, they'll be there tomorrow.
The tradition of craftsmanship that we're talking, because I believe that's intense craftsmanship, and I think that's cultural, and I really appreciate it. But we need bold innovations. You don't have to go, 90 miles per hour, but this feels like it's just inch by inch, and it takes a year for an inch, and it's not and it's not really for the sake of quality of product. It's for quality of the market. And I have a problem with a focus strictly on the market prospects of it, when we really need you to be bold and innovative right now, and let the market kind of catch up to you. Present something really focused, strong, and utilizing the technologies out there. Show us a possibility. Because I feel if you're going to put out a concept car, then blow me the fuck away. Give me a great concept that hits so many points and really brings the technology to the forefront, and stop this namby-pamby wussy bull. And don't show me a cool car and tell me, and it might actually be viable sometime in like 6 more years. And wait until 5 years and tell me about it then.
That kind of cycles back to what we were talking about earlier with the futures. I mean, they're so busy trying to do the quarter to quarter, time the market garbage, that like remember the original Prius when it came out? Nobody was asking for that thing. They put it out. We loved it. Well, it was ugly and it was weird and it was expensive, but it took us some time. But we loved it.
It found a market.
Exactly.
It's an investment. It's an investment that a company needs to make. I'd rather you made the investment in a new direction for your product than you made an investment in one more rich dude to kind of sit back and say, I'm doing something. And really, it's the engineers doing something and being held back by the lack of drive and focus and adventurous mindset for the company and for that area of technology that's being presented by people who really, frankly, they're the only ones who can survive the kind of weird hodgepodge crap that they're putting out here with, because they have the money reserves. Put that money reserve into the product and give me something where you are definitely focused on investing in the product. Because I want to like this, I like it, but the more I hear about it, the more I see, the more we're talking about the length of time to get to the battery, the length of time to market. Oh, we'll give it some whiz bang and we'll give it some real polish. And I'm like, give me 2 less executives and just put that money towards something really incredible.
Do you realize what would happen if Toyota spun off, let's say, Scion again or another thing, just focused on EVs?
Yeah, that's one way to do it, because they're going to be unencumbered from that corporate culture that holds them back so much. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Free themselves up.
They did that with Lexus.
Maybe.
Kind of like
GM
did. Kind of like GM did with the EV1 and Saturn.
Yep.
Look, if you want to imagine the little electric brand ghetto inside of every Toyota dealership, sort of like Scion used to be, that nobody wants to work at because nobody's making any money. There are aspects of that I love, and there are aspects of that frighten the hell out of me. I'd almost rather they just shoved it in the Toyota pipeline and went that way. It scares me to think.
But they already own the website, scion.com.
Yeah.
There's that too.
Oh, they still have it, eh?
Well, maybe they could do what, a Windows work environment often does with a creative environment that's all on Mac. They just give you your stuff and leave you the hell alone and let you do your thing.
Yeah.
So since
The
we're
logo-
go ahead.
The logo's already suited for an EV. It's kind of got that like lightning bolt shape to it.
Oh yeah.
I want to touch quickly on a story that John wanted to talk about, the Rawlinson story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind, John?
What's
Because
that?
it was
Sorry,
the Rawlinson story, the Lucid story.
Lucid. Oh, that one.
Wasn't that you, John? Did I
yeah.
get an
Yes,
email
yes.
a minute after the show started with a news thing?
Yes, that's correct. No, sorry, because I sent a whole bunch, right?
Am I busting your
Range
balls on the show?
Rover,
Yes.
Taycan, Lawson. Yeah. So.
But I read this interview and it was fascinating. So please.
It was. Yeah. Okay. So, Peter Rawlinson, the Motor Trend did an interview with him. Now, Peter Rawlinson was the designer behind Project White Star. I believe it's called White Star, right?
Yes.
And as Tesla fans know, that became the Model S.
So I thought Franz van Holhausen was the Model S designer.
He took it over.
He took it over. Okay, so
Chief engineer.
Okay, yeah, because Rawlinson was the engineer.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Engineer.
Yeah. Was he the designer? Was Franz the designer, or was he an engineer?
Franz took over from Fisker as design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yes.
inside baseball.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to derail you. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. So I mean, he has quite the resume, right? Because as the article states, he was principal engineer at Jaguar. He was a chief engineer at Advanced Engineering at Lotus. So he has some decent background in engineering, and so now he is not running things, but he's the chief engineer for Lucid Air. So or for Lucid, and he's designing the Air sedan. So when they're interviewing him with that, he was naturally kind of upbeat, optimistic about the vehicle, saying that it was better than his previous project, which is the Model S. And this is where this article is kind of touching up on, where he's thinking, the background of designing the Model S allows him to produce a much better product with Lucid. The things that maybe he wanted to do that couldn't do because of time constraints or whatever it may be, or maybe because the industry was nascent at that time, right? When the Model S was under development, right? So you're talking about late 2000s, early 2010s. So now it's a different market, and he's able to maybe push things a bit more. So thought it was kind of interesting, and of course his big line that the big headline uses. Former chief engineer of the Model S thinks that the Lucid Air is better than the Model S. Right, you got to have that catchy headline. There are a few things that maybe I don't quite agree with him. One of them being he's saying,
because anybody who used to work somewhere else is going to say, "Yeah, I built a shittier car than where I used to work."
Yeah, and to be fair, he was at Tesla in 2012, so 8 years ago, and I hope by now they can make a car better than 2012.
Yeah.
Some of the big guys can.
Which is arguable.
Yeah. Which is arguable. I mean, not necessarily, right? You can still make mistakes. You can make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm getting to point right now, where one of the things he noticed that now there's the Lucid Air is a sedan versus a hatchback on the Model S. That was one thing that he was pushing for, which is kind of funny because I think a lot of Model S owners enjoy that actual practicality of the hatchback, being able to fold down seats flat and get that large cargo area as opposed to being hampered by the trunklet and the parcel shelf. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But I do like his other talk about the batteries, how they invested into Formula E. I thought that's great, interesting information. And racing has have had a part in production vehicles, right? Whatever you develop in racing, you're able to take that, refine it, and then eventually some of that can be practical in just your everyday car. Russell is saying, yeah, maybe some sorts.
Yeah, hey, and until the race car drivers are driving Chevy Econovans with screaming kids in the background asking, "Are we there yet?" I'm not getting any of the racing into every day.
Good point.
I see you missed the Fast and Furious 7 where Paul Walker was in the minivan. No, just kidding.
Nice snapback.
Well, I was thinking more of the technology, right? So, with race cars, you're under intense pressures, right? You're discharging at a high rate, you're recharging at a high rate, and all of that technology can be useful in every day because that's what the people want. They want the fast recharge, right? They want to stop for 30 minutes, boom, there's your full, or even 15 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it may be. So, racing, I still think racing still has some part in production vehicles, and
sure,
they have much bigger.
Way to stress the technology for sure, and learn a lot from it. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and they have much bigger budgets.
Yeah.
For every second count. So, I thought that was an interesting interview. Just kind of touch on the different things and his background and how maybe I guess helping Lucid give some credibility, as a startup, give some credibility to their vehicles. I guess with headlines of, we'll be able to reach real world range of 400 miles at highway speeds. That was one of their goals, and I think they have achieved that. I think they did surpass it, but they haven't actually given it an official number. But that was their goal: 400 miles of highway speed range, and of course now with the sedan. So I think it's a nice way, I guess, for Lucid to kind of prop up their image ahead of launch. That's all I have. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot like we talked about the workhorse, the endurance. No, Lordstown Motors truck earlier. Good luck. I hope that they are successful. Hope this is a great car that a lot of people fall in love with.
Yeah, like we said on the previous show on Tesla Life, we can't have one manufacturer just taking it all away. They need good, solid competition to keep them on their toes.
Yeah.
And to keep it fair for us, the consumers.
Right. You can't have one company coming up with all the innovation. It takes competition to really advance the market, advance the technology.
Yep. And if there's anyone out there who thinks that Lucid has an honest product and are upset that they missed the Tesla IPO, Lucid is currently trading at about 69 cents.
Wow.
So, if you're feeling good about Lucid, buy
Jump
it
on
up.
it, yeah,
You never know.
before vehicle launch.
And
Yeah,
don't
might
take
as
stock
well.
advice from the guy who drinks gasoline.
That's probably the best advice.
I got a
right there,
show
guys.
title.
That's a
I
show.
got a show title.
If you've got like $50 burning a hole in your pocket, and Vegas is pretty much still off limits, you can buy Lucid stock and take that long-term gamble.
That's
But
your
do
long-term
not-
gamble right
It
there.
is a gamble.
Do not drink
That's
gasoline.
Yeah, to directly quote a not so somewhat maybe famous person, what do you have to lose?
Ah,
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you
Gotta
for that,
take it.
John. Let's do some shout outs and go home because I think
right.
we're coming right up to the 60-minute mark. And Paul
Yeah,
looks like he might stay awake for the end of this.
well,
Anyway, well, speaking of Paul, let's start with Paul. Paul, you got some shout outs?
Not a whole lot. Just thanks to the frontline workers that are trying to keep everybody healthy and keep the numbers down. And if you're in Colorado and you need your car fixed or you need to buy a new car because you're shit the bed, look us up, boulderhc.com or boulderh.com.
You shouldn't be sleeping with your car anyway.
I'm sorry, I have to ask. Now, you get these calls from people. Has anyone ever called up your business and said, my car is shit the bed? Because that call would make my day.
Instant
No, but
15% discount if you call with that phrase. It's the phrase that
Yes.
Exactly.
I've had similar phrases, but not
that one.
No, they-
And bring a
that
six-pack of beer. Use that phrase and bring a six-pack of beer and you get 15% on that. That's not true.
You got anything on special?
Not really. Got more inventory on our website, boulderh.com, so check it out. Unfortunately, not a lot of people are buying cars, although we did sell 2 cars in the last week, which is good.
Awesome. Wow.
But a little slower than it should be this time of year for obvious reasons.
There we go. Let's go to Mr. Casey Green.
So you'll find me on youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREN. I've got a video of the latest Tesla software update in depth, and I've got a couple of videos on deck. Mostly supercharger reviews. Since we're all kind of sheltering in place, it might be nice to explore and see what's out there without leaving the comfort of your chair or the house.
Perfect. Mr. Coughlin.
Wanted to remind people, if you're still watching us at this point, please give us the thumbs up. That helps us in the eyes of YouTube. As well as, if you haven't subscribed already, please press the subscribe button. Give us a number. We would really appreciate it. And we thank you for your patronage.
Thank you, Mark. And you can find Mark on Twitter at The Tesla Life. So look for him there. John B.
Well, I'd just like to say thanks again for all the essential workers, like Paul there, who's servicing vehicles, truckers delivering food, grocery workers, having to deal with shoppers, I guess, and unknown number of people in times like these. So just thanks for helping the rest of us kind of get through this.
All the people working at those fast food drive-thrus, giving us an option. Whatever, say whatever you want about fast food. Boy, is that nice once in a while, as opposed to like, I'm going to cook something.
Yeah.
Patrick Connor.
Hello. Again, I want to say Happy Earth Day. This is the big 5-0 for Earth Day, and that you could argue that all started because 9-10 months before that we landed on the moon and actually had a view of the Earth as an entire planet, and changed the way we think about things. Instead of looking at nations and borders, looking at our entire planet. So think of the big picture. And I also want to repeat what we've said about essential workers and drive-thrus. I've been normally through a drive-thru. I don't usually tip, but I've been tipping like crazy. So thank you all for the people who are out there and putting your lives at risk so I can get a burger. Thank you very much. My normal plug, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicles Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and we're on Twitter and Facebook. You can check us out there if you like. Thanks.
Absolutely. And as always, I want to thank Patrick for all the hard work he does on the What Drives Us Facebook feed and Twitter feed. That the smart-ass comments that are probably stupid are mine. The news is Patrick's. It's the easy way to tell them apart. If it's a snarky comment, it's me. If it's news, it's Patrick.
Yep, that's a good summary.
That's about the way it goes. Who am I forgetting? Oh, I know her. Georgia.
Another shout out to all the essential workers, and not just our doctors, not just our mail delivery people, but you guys who handle things like sanitation, all of our water engineers, all of our public sanitation engineers, the people who clean up after us. You deserve so much more, and I am so sorry that we acted like jerks. But most of us now at least understand how essential you really are. So I'd like to remind everybody to get registered to vote by mail wherever you can in your state, and watch, like, and subscribe to this channel, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Back to you, Russell.
Thank you so much. Well done. And last and not least, Tony Schaefer. Bring us home, baby.
Yeah, you selfish bastards. There's no one left for me to thank. But yeah, so I want everyone to buy stamps, buy a lot of stamps, fund the USPS. And,
what's the futures market on stamps? Are they trending?
Yes,
forever stamps are
What the
forever.
hell is Harvey's?
What is that?
Sharing.
You guys want to talk about drive-throughs?
How
Harvey's got a
Canadian.
great idea. They've put the payment machine on the end of a hockey stick.
Nice.
More worryingly, is the guy still touching, the driver still touching.
Right, yeah. Wear gloves when you go out there.
Well, the places I've been to, they hovered out your window, and because Canada we have tap to pay for credit cards. I don't remember the last time I exchanged cash, because it's
I'm
just
surprised
tap
that
and go.
wasn't a Tim Hortons, honestly.
I'm just glad a lot of the places that pretended their stuff doesn't work for tap and pay have finally wised up. Oh, don't touch it. Use your tap and pay. Yeah, I've been using it forever while you guys scream bloody murder. Now we don't have that. And then, oh, never mind.
There was a picture in the local paper of.
Go ahead, Paul.
I was just saying, our local paper, there was a picture of a panhandler who had his donation on a stick, and he'd hold it on the intersection so you could give him a donation, and he wouldn't be within 6 feet of your car. So, even the panhandlers are getting creative.
Yeah, the one at the end of our street has his gloves, and he has a mask, but he keeps taking it up to smoke.
And if that isn't
Beautiful.
humanity in a nutshell.
Clouds of virus and nicotine. Yay. Okay, Tony.
Jeez. So I don't know where you got this episode, but if you want to make sure you never miss an episode, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. If you want to catch the audio version, check us out on Stitcher and Spotify, Google Play, TuneIn, or iTunes. Go ahead and subscribe to all of them. I don't care. Knock yourself out. It's not like you got other things to do.
Whoa.
That's an interesting. I get it. It's like the marketing approach. Nicely done, Tony.
I bet you won't subscribe to them all.
Oh, I like that.
Lay it on
Challenge
thick,
to me.
Tony.
I know 99% of you won't hit the subscribe button.
You're not brave enough.
God, I hate that.
Yes.
I fucking hate that so much.
Right. Like and share.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for his amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. And like I said, on April 30th, go buy his brand new solo album, Simple Moments, because it's going to be incredible. Do look for my friends, the Miss Allens, on Bandcamp and buy their record, or at least listen to it. It's available all over the place. You can check it out for free on Spotify and then go buy it. As always, you can support us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/whatdrivesaShow. For as little as $1 a month, that's less than 25 cents per show. I mean, come on, 25 cents? Really? 25 cents for this? Yeah, maybe I won't make that argument. Okay.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/What Drives Us. We're at What Drives Us on Twitter. And of course, YouTube.com/What Drives Us. Tune in next week and find out what drives us.
You know, there were people in the audio version who were like tapping their phone.
Stay safe, okay?
It's just pulling that Rocky Horror Picture Show ending.